Hello, everybody. This is Charles Walter Buntjer talking to you from San Francisco, California. I'm celebrating 61 years in San Francisco and 30 years living on the 28th floor of the Fox Plaza apartments. This February, I took 2 weeks and celebrated my 84th birthday on a cruise along the east coast of Australia. It's now October, and I felt like I needed to do something before my next trip next April, when I'm going to take the Queen Mary to Norway and the fjords. So here I went for 6 days, a quick trip to Long Beach, and did several of the things that I always wanted to do. I hope you enjoy this video, and I have lots of interesting information, especially the one where I met a fish 60 some years ago in the Bahamas. I got a cab and left Motel 6 and got to the Aquarium of the Pacific right on time at 10 a.m. Went in, and there was this glass wall about 20 by 30 foot high, and in it were these huge fish. I'm not sure if they're called rock cod. Anyway, they were large, but not as large as the one I saw many years ago. In 1961, around Christmas, I decided to do a cruise. First time I was outside of the United States. I flew on a Pan Am 707 jet. Then I flew on a water prop, pusher prop to Bimini, and there I was on a Windjammer cruise for 2 weeks. Now, the crew members had talked about two men who came from Canada. They were underwater demolition experts. I got to meet them, and they were talking about scuba diving in Canada. They said they brought an extra set of scuba gear and wondered if anybody would like to go down with them. And I said, of course, I want to go down. So I watched them very carefully, put everything together like they did, got into the water, and we went down about 40, 50 feet. And I know they thought, what was with this number? Because I was so excited, I would point, there's coral. I didn't say it, of course, but I went, coral, fish, seaweed. What's this? What's that? Anyway, they kept waving at me. And I thought, what are they waving at me for? They kept going. I thought, what are they doing? And they went. So I was going along, and I looked, and there was a small canyon cut into the coral. It was about 12 feet wide and 10 feet deep. So I thought, well, I'm going to go down into that because it was kind of dark and see what's going on down there. Well, I get down there, and suddenly I felt like something was looking at me. I looked back, the men were waving at me, and I looked up, and there was this like 300-pound fish. It was about 10 inches away from me, and it was just sitting there, just slowly floating away and looking at me like, what is this fool doing? He's going to swim right into me. So I went like, oh my God. And I went, ooh, and off I swam away. Well, we went to the top of the Caribbean Sea and got into the launch, and the guys just cracked up laughing. They thought it was extremely funny that I was swimming along and almost ran into this fish that looked just like a rock cod that I saw at the aquarium when I walked in. So they were talking about how exciting it was that I was able to go scuba diving with them and wondered how long I'd been diving. And I said, I'd never been diving in my life before. And they said they couldn't believe it. They thought I'd been diving. They said, unbelievable. So I had to laugh because that was 62. 20 years later at the YMCA, I decided to take scuba diving lessons and got a PADI certificate for diving. Of course, 20 years later was a little late. In 61, 62, I was diving in the Caribbean, but it was exciting. Of course, I wanted to go and visit the Queen Mary, the original one that they started construction in 1930, but because of the Depression, it took them about 4 years before they launched it. Now, about 5 years ago, my friend Virginia and I went all over Ireland, Scotland, and then we flew down to Southampton, and we took the new Queen Mary to the Azer Islands and then over to New York City. So I'm going to be doing that again. I'm going to fly this time by myself to London, then to Southampton, and then a week's cruise up along the fjords of Norway and back again. So that's going to be exciting. So check out my tour of the original Queen Mary, docked in Long Beach. Of course, I visited many islands around the world, so far about 44 islands. So I had to go to see Catalina because it's part of the Channel Islands, and they're just off of Los Angeles. So I took the ferry over to Catalina, and then I walked around and did the local tourist things, and then came back again. So I added that to my list of islands. Now I've had 45 islands I've visited around the world. 45. I wonder what other islands I need to go to. So anyway, that was just a wonderful trip, and I hope that you enjoyed it. My friend Gail lives in Van Nuys, not too far from the LAX airport. And she came over to Long Beach on Sunday, and we spent a few hours together chatting about our former trips to Africa and to the Netherlands and other places around the United States, especially the wine train in Napa. And we had a great time. I hadn't seen her in over 10 years, so that was really exciting. So anyway, this is the end of my tour, but I'll have another one coming up soon when I go on my trip to Norway. Now I'm wondering if maybe I could do something February 4th before that trip to celebrate my birthday, since I've been in about 30 some countries for my birthdays, like Cambodia and Jamaica and Indonesia and Jordan, you name it. Just an exciting life. And I'll be turning 85. How did that happen? Anyway, enjoy.